Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be here and to have an opportunity to talk. So we just watched this awesome interview with Craig Emmerich, and it was really fascinating. And he really gave us a lot of information that was, some of it which was really new to me, and some of it really kind of clarified questions I've had in the past. So it was really super helpful. So I'm excited to hear what you all thought. If you had any further questions, I know I saw some questions in the chat that I think we definitely want to go through. I know I think it was Erica who had some questions. So for those of you who are here and watching, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so we can get notification every time we go live. And let's get started. So Arien, what'd you think?
I thought it was really good. It surprised me because I only know them as people who make cookbooks, so I didn't know like how much actual knowledge they had.
Yeah.
And yeah, the stuff about the size of the mammoth, and how long we would eat off of one or two of those, and the I think it was the three different things that can happen to dietary fat. Like, yeah, I learned a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought it was going to be like a fun interview, not just like, oh, I could go back and watch this again and probably catch a bunch more stuff that I didn't
Yeah.
grasp onto the first time.
Yeah. Do I do fun interviews?
Yeah,
Usually.
I feel like sometimes it's just like I guess,
Yeah.
so if you were to do like just one talking to one of us or something, or like you just want to hear a person's story, like I thought this was going to be more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he did tell his story, and it turns out
Yeah.
he has Lyme disease, and
Yeah.
Carnivore has helped that a lot. I had no idea.
Yeah. Actually, Lyme disease is one of those things that sort of terrified me because it seems like, you go out for a lovely day and you take a little hike and then your health is just like destroyed. So, so all the stories I hear about Lyme disease are just terrible. And it's like, oh my God, all he did was like walk around in nature. Like, should we stay in our concrete jungle? Yeah. So
Maybe.
maybe. So it was really helpful to hear from him, his experience. And it sounds like it was pretty bad. I mean, he's still struggling with it, so it's not over. But he has found some success eating the carnivore diet. So it's good to know that it really can be super helpful for a lot of different types of things.
Yeah, so that was big. And then I mean, it's a secondhand story, but that Maria had IBS like a lot of us and fixed that through, I don't know if she fixed it in being keto or carnivore, but one of the two, changing the diet cured that for her.
Yeah.
And she was running marathons with IBS and being like 30 pounds overweight.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they've been in the space for a really long time. I mean, I remember seeing her stuff, even in the early 2000s. So, they've been producing content and been around in a long time. And that was actually why I asked that question about what he's seen and how things are different, because there's not a lot of us who really have been continuously paying attention and active in the space for that long. So it's always interesting to hear people's perspectives.
What did he say was different? I don't remember his answer to that.
Well, he was talking more about the science and what people believed. That's what was different. The recommendations, I guess they got motivated to, to start producing more content because there were so many people like making these, odd recommendations about what one should be doing in order to be keto. And he even commented on, which I thought was interesting, somehow it came out that, to be keto, your macros had to be 80% fat, 15% protein, and like 5% carbs. And that number actually came from, like, there was a study of hunter-gatherers who ate a lot of meat, and typically that's what was commonly seen in their diets. But, that was a comparison of people of hunter-gatherers today who are eating. And it's hard I think it's important, and this is sort of what I came out of my anthropology studies with, it's hard to try to use modern-day hunter-gatherers as any kind of explanation about what was happening in the past, because modern-day hunter-gatherers are typically relegated to land that is not good quality land. It's not where there's a lot of good stuff. So their diet may be skewed, or may not reflect what we might have done in the past.
Yeah, that's every time I hear people talk about what hunter-gatherers do now, I get frustrated for that reason, because it's always different than what they have done, thousands and thousands of years ago. It's very rare that you find a modern hunter-gatherer society that hasn't been affected by the rest of the world.
Exactly. So, and so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I was trying to get his thoughts on where we were going and what we might expect to see in 2030. But somehow we kind of got off track, so I don't feel like we got a full answer. But yeah. I wonder, what are your thoughts, Arien?
I think we're going to see some people, well, we're already kind of seeing it. They're jumping the shark, and they're probably not going to be carnivores at some point in the future, like give it a year or two. I guess I could see a splintering. I could see people who are like mostly carnivore, but they gave up on trying to, what I would say, eat healthy, and they're now like, well, I'm carnivore-ish, and I include these things on a regular, like, daily basis or something, like sugar substitutes, or I've decided that plants are beneficial, so I do eat those, like all this weirdness. I think there's going to be some of that. And then what's the other change I see? Damn, I lost it. It was something based on the science. But yeah, I think a good number of people are going to fall off. Some of these influencers are going to find out that they can't make any money just being carnivore.
Yeah. Well, I think keto is just going to become like commonplace, and then I wonder if we don't just kind of get folded back into keto, and we're just sort of like another sort of branch or arm of keto.
Those weird cousins that no one wants to talk about.
Not like Cousin It. I mean, just, just another
off in the corner.
Yeah.
There's those carnivore people. I don't know.
Just another branch. Yeah, just another branch. I don't know. I mean, I think that might be, I mean, maybe that's the best way for us to position ourselves. I don't know. That might be something to think about.
I mean, that's definitely, it's a fair understanding of carnivore. It is a ketogenic diet. At least some of the time, if not all the time, depending on probably how you're doing it. But I think the part that I guess I wouldn't have a problem with being seen as a subset of keto. The only issue that I could think to have would be that carnivore cures more things than keto does.
Yeah.
Where it feels like you're selling carnivore short to just say, oh yeah, it's just a kind of keto.
Well, like a stricter keto, no dairy keto, or instead of, vegetarian, you're a lacto-ovo vegetarian. And so instead of keto, you're a keto AF, which was something that Amber O'Hearn had tried to coin before, which was like AF meaning not the curse word, but animal foods or animal fat or something. Right. When I first heard keto AF, I was like, yeah, I'm keto AF, but now I get it. So it might be that, we just kind of move in that direction. So keto is, like that, the word vegetarian is sort of a catch-all. And somehow, vegan came out of vegetarian. So, it might be, I don't know, comeditarian, or there's a word for mushing together multiple words, and I'm not very good at doing it.
Is it portmanteau or portmanteau?
Yes, portmanteau. Yes. Yeah. So maybe that's our job, to come up with a good portmanteau for keto and carnivore.
The one woman, Nisha Berry, calls herself a ketovore.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. It's keto and it has carnivore. They're both in there, and you could be varying degrees of that. Yeah, I don't mind that word. Maybe that's a decent one we can latch on to. I did like in that line of questioning, part of his answer was about how Atkins started. And that Atkins, he said basically carnivore is like level 1 Atkins, and you just stay there the whole time.
Yeah.
And I remember that you had told me that, and that if I wanted to read about Atkins, to go to the original Atkins book, not the later ones. And even in the original, the same conclusion that he had is what I had, that, all right, this beginning looks right. And then you keep adding all this junk back in, and I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but it's unnecessary. You could have just kept it like it was, kept people at the beginning stage, where they're apparently healthiest, they're losing all this weight, and there's no problems.
Yeah.
And
what I read was that.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, and definitely that he seemed to have the same things to say about Atkins that you did. That looking at the later iterations of the diet had more and more junk food in it.
Yeah. I mean, from what I had read, Atkins, the people that he treated in his clinic, they didn't add back carbs. But the people, like in the book he wrote, he gave that option. So, but like the way he did it with his people, like he didn't really do that.
Yeah. And I wish the book reflected more of that. It did say a couple times that, you can, like, some people will find that their maintenance number is really, really low. The maintenance number of carbohydrates that you can eat, maintenance being, I can eat this number and still stay at the same weight, no problems. He did say that some people are so damaged that they find that their number is permanently low. And I wonder if those people are actually damaged or if they're just generally less tolerant of carbohydrates. Yeah.
Well, I have another interesting interview coming out next week. So everybody, just for a reminder, so this Thursday, of course, is Thanksgiving. So in America. So those of you in other countries, I'm sorry, but we're just going to take off the night and we're not going to do a live stream or have anything. But I will put up a post reminding people of that. But next Tuesday, I have another interview coming out that is fascinating, and I think you're really going to love the topic. So we're going to talk more about this carb intolerance specifically for the Black community.
Cool.
What was I going to say? Oh, so Jackie Eberstein, who is the nurse for Dr. Atkins for like 30 years, she, has given a number of talks, and I've watched those, and she has talked about, where she stayed about 30 grams of carbs a day for years and then dropped to 20. And then as she went into menopause, she had to go down to 5 grams in order to keep her weight where she wanted it to be. So, I don't even know if it's necessarily a damage. I mean, it just is time. she's someone who followed this diet for years, so her health and the state of her body should have, or was, excellent. But just over time, like we degrade. Like carbs just are not meant for us, I think, is what that says. So here's somebody who did the diet for forever and was really healthy. She maintained had a slim body throughout her life, but even going through menopause, that's still just there was no match.
So she had to keep it low and go lower as time went on.
Yeah. So Erica had a good question. Erica Raven Branch. Erica, that is another topic, menopause. Yeah, and one that's apropos for many of us. But you had a question before in the interview, so I wanted to come back to that. You were asking whether, if you're trying to lose weight, whether you shouldn't just cut out fat altogether. And this was based off of some of the things that that Craig was saying about, what was it?
Was it the 3 pathways of fat? And he said you're going to use some immediately for energy,
right?
But
the fat flux.
Some of it is also gonna, you can pass some of it through your digestive system. You don't want to do that a lot. And he talked about some old cookie that was full of fat and would just make people have, I guess, explosive diarrhea. Like, that sounds fun. I don't know why we were doing that.
That was one of the products to get low fat, so that you could have a cookie, but you wouldn't absorb any of the fat from it. But it caused anal leakage. And this was in like the mid 80s, like that. I think Olestra might have been the chemical that they used. But yeah, that was one of the things that it caused. I mean, yeah. So I know. So back then it was like
just awful.
Why?
Why did this exist? Why did we do this? But then the third path was that it goes into storage, where it then becomes a part of that. He called it, you said fat flux?
Fat flux, yeah.
Okay, so that's the cycle of your fat cells releasing fatty acids and then also taking up fatty acids, which is happening on a continuous basis.
Yeah. Well, what I understood...
Most of the fat you eat
go ahead.
gets... I'm sorry, just real quick. I think he said most of the fat you eat gets stored first. Right? Okay.
That's what I heard. That what you eat gets stored, but your body's constantly pulling out from your storage and having fat available for use. More fat than it even thinks it needs is available for use. So your body, once you become fat adapted, you're not burning ketones for energy, you're actually burning straight up fat. So... Yeah, so that's sort of interesting that what you're eating doesn't necessarily have a direct relationship to what you're burning on a day-to-day basis. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's a fair question for Erica to ask. If you're trying to lose weight, why eat any fat? And, just force your body to keep using what's already in your stores. And I think that was the question that we were trying to get at in the last live stream. Yeah.
So I think I threw an answer real quick in there, and you seem to agree with it. Just that you don't want to restrict calories, and when you're not eating fat at all, you're also not eating carbohydrates, so your body's not getting any energy from the outside. You're not eating any energy. You are calorie restricting at that point. When you do that, your body's metabolism will slow down. So it will say, we're not getting anything in, so we need to conserve what we have. So what you think you're doing, what you hope is that, well, my fat flux is still going to happen. I'm still going to be circulating all this fat, and my body's just going to use it all, which to an extent is still going to happen, but much slower than what you want.
Yeah, and I feel like we probably need a better explanation of that, and perhaps there's someone else who can give that explanation. But also, our bodies need fat, and we're not just using it for energy in the body, but we're using it for a whole bunch of purposes, including your brain. Your mood is impacted very much. We do have an essential requirement for omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids every day. So whether you're getting enough of that on a day-to-day basis, if you're eating, a completely no fat or a very, very low fat diet, that's what's questioned. And so what I was explaining, and that, in that live stream, and what, Lyle McDonald said about his protein sparing modified fast is that it really tanks your hormones, your brain, your mood, all these other things really get messed up. And so, maybe it might achieve that goal a little bit faster, but the detriment is so huge that it's really not worth it, unless you're going to get $1 million for being so much thinner in a week. Then it's worth it, but otherwise it's not.
Yep. And this is why I was glad that he said they don't recommend long fast to people, and you nailed him down on what that means. And he said longer than 24 hours. I don't agree with it. I feel like pretty much exactly the same. I don't think people should be fasting for long amounts of time, and that's one of the reasons, is that even if you accept that your body, your metabolism is going to slow down, but you're not giving your body any fat, so it will have to burn fat. You are also going to be missing out on all the other nutrients that you should be pulling in. So that's, as far as I can tell, that's at least one of the big reasons why your hormones and your vitamins are going to tank, as you said. There are fat soluble vitamins that you're not getting if you're not eating. And we can't create a lot of those. A lot of the hormones, the precursors, are coming from the food that we eat. You can't, it's much harder to do that. It's harder to create all the building blocks of the body that we need, all the signaling hormones and things that we need if you're not eating. And eating no fat and just protein, to a very good extent, might as well be not eating. Like, you'll live, but it's not a long-term way to do things. And I think he said he recommended only for like a day or two at most.
24 hours. So he was referencing the studies that Dr. Finney was also referencing, that once you past 24 hours, you start to lose about 1/4 of a pound of muscle per day of fasting. And I think the study went as far as 30 days. And so as you get closer to 30 days, that number of how much muscle you lose per day of fasting starts to reduce each day. So it's no longer 1/4 of a pound by the end of the 30 days. But if you're just, doing like a 3-day fast every week, you could potentially be losing 3/4 of a pound of muscle each week. Now, there was a lot of rebuttal from Dr. Fung about whether that's really the case. So I don't know that I have an opinion there. And there are people who certainly have been able to do it, and I don't know, they don't seem to have lost a ton of muscle. So Dr. Fung says that there is tissue that needs to be lost. If you're very heavy and you've lost 80 pounds and your skin is stretched out and you've got a lot of extra skin, that's tissue that needs to be lost. That is protein as well. I think that the argument that Dr. Finney was making, those studies were done in people who were of, average weight, who were not obese, and so maybe didn't have the excess. And I think Erica mentioned earlier in the chat something about rabbit starvation. So rabbit starvation, of course, is a thing, but that is that's more of a problem for people who are not currently obese. You start starving when you don't have fat stores anymore to rely on. So if you are very heavy, it may take you longer to get to the point of starvation because you still have fat stores to go on. So I don't know, the issue is complicated. And I think if you are, a bodybuilder and, you are like actively working to build muscle, then maybe fasting for longer than 24 hours is not a good idea. Or, if you don't really have any fat to lose, then fasting for longer periods is going to be harder. And I tend to see that, people who are closer to their goal weight have a harder time going longer periods of fasting. But if you have more fat to lose, there may be more, flexibility there. So that's what I see, but who knows?
Yeah, I still feel the same about it. Like less than 24 hours sounds rightish.
Yeah.
For just about everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, and Katura says again, if we have stored fat, don't those things come from the stores? So that's assuming we're healthy, our fat stores are healthy, and we have enough of them. I mean, remember, vitamins and minerals are, we have a store of them, but there's a limit. And that's why, we often argue that vegans can be healthy and look healthy for the first 6 months of going vegan, but that's because they're relying off of the stores that we have. But at a certain point, you run out, so you do have to refill them. And I think that we also think of fat as this sort of like this thing that's sort of sequestered in this place and it just sits there until we need it. But if fat is in fact a constantly fluctuating, moving organ that's actually controlling many of the hormones and functions in our body. As Craig described, we have a fat flux system where fat is constantly being cycled in and out of our fat, and that's happening all the time. So that tells you that the fat is not just doing nothing while waiting to be called upon. It's like actively being cycled and recycled and changed and evolving every step of the way. So I don't know. So that tells me that the fat, there's more going on with fat than I think I've frozen. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine. Yeah,
okay.
Camera's froze.
So there's more going on with fat than we think. It's not just sitting there.
Yeah, and I think even if it's even if it's the fat that we eat comes with those things, the vitamins, the precursors to hormones. I don't think we store it in a way, I don't think we store it in a way where those things like then become available again once a fat cell releases some of the actual fatty acids. Because if that was the case, then we would be fasting, and that would be we would be fasting and we would never have that issue. We wouldn't be low on any hormones. We'd be fine. I guess that would assume like a perfect recycling of our hormones, which is not the case. That does not happen. We have to be taking these things in on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then, of course, the final thing is weight loss is not the most important thing, right? Our health is. So we can't always make decisions based off of what is going to bring the speediest weight loss. Yeah.
Like, if you really want to be fast weight loss, you probably wouldn't be carnivore in the first place. You would be something like keto plus intermittent fasting, and you could lose a ton of weight that way.
Yeah. Well, fasting long term, water fasting for 40 days or something like that.
Right. Like, yeah, that'll do it too. Be a breatharian, you'll lose some weight.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
That's not healthy. we need to be taking in food. We were built to eat on a regular basis. Not all the time, but I'd say probably every day-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's just you and you're froze. What's your camera doing?
I think it's the program, actually, not my camera. There we go. So, oops, there we go. Bringing you back. Oh, but why is the other one still here? Okay. All right. Here we go.
Okay.
This is my computer camera.
I thought so.
Yeah. So, definitely not as good. Okay, so, well, we should probably wrap up pretty soon anyway, but I think that's a really good, yeah. So I think that was a really good, okay, so I think that was a really good conversation to have, though, because I think, you know, I mean, honestly, and that was why I kind of wanted to do that live stream before, because you know, that's something that people ask all the time, and I think you need to understand. And I kind of went through a long period of trying to kind of understand that for myself. You know, I mean, the reality is that this diet is a high fat diet. You know, whether you're eating 90% fat, 80% fat, 70% fat, or even 65% fat, all of that is high, you know, in comparison to what we're instructed to do. But, you know, protein is not really used for calories. It's used for building and doing stuff. And if you're not eating carbs, that's where the calories come from to create energy, you know, the energy that we need to operate on a day-to-day basis. So if you're not getting the energy from protein, you're not getting it from carbs, you have to get it from somewhere, or you are on a starvation diet. And that's what we're describing, you know, here. So, you know, we're recommending that you get it from, fat, and that you're going to be much more successful and comfortable and healthy if you do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you keep things simple, and some of these details we can get lost in trying to optimize things and screw ourselves up, start eating unnaturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you focus on health, it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, not only focus on health, but focus on what your body requests, because your body is going to request the best amount for you. And I think that's what we forget. And, you know, our bodies, I think, want to be at the appropriate weight. And so once you take away these drivers of behavior, like sugar, then your body's going to send you the appropriate signals. And, you know, like when you work out really hard, or you have like done a massive amount of exercise, you know, you're hungrier the next day. You know, your body does like send you the appropriate signals to get the appropriate amount of energy that it needs. Yeah. So you don't really have to worry about this if you are following your appetite. Now, if you're not following your appetite, you know, then that's, you know, you've got a different problem. But that's not a food problem. You don't need to work on macros. You need to work on your head.
Yeah, work on the mental instead.
Yeah.
But as long as your appetite isn't being hijacked by things like sugar, like you said, then you just follow it and just eat. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I think from both perspectives, we're getting weird information. You know, I mean, on the one hand, we're feeling like we should totally restrict fat. But perhaps, you know, there's just like a little in between, you know, like as Craig was saying, 2 days a week, you know, then eat really low fat or have a leaner meal. But that doesn't mean always, ever, forever. It just means, you know, 2 days a week. But at the other end of the spectrum, you have people saying you need to eat a stick of butter every day. And, you know, that too is unnatural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all for experimenting and seeing how you feel at either end of the spectrum. But, for most of us, the best place is going to be somewhere in the middle, because that's a bell curve, right? That's where most people land. So you're going to end up in the middle, but, you might spend some more days on the left side and then, a couple more days on the right side and kind of go back and forth. There isn't an exact amount that we should eat every single day because every single day is not the same. Some days you do a lot more housework or, I don't know, going out or walking around, and other days you're just binge watching TV and on the couch. And so your needs are not the same every day. But your body is going to be the best indicator.
Yeah, I completely agree. If we just listen to ourselves, that will work itself out. There doesn't need to be all this thought attached to eating. So Erica in the chat, yes, enjoy that pork belly. Absolutely clear conscious. Eat as much of that pork belly as you want.
Yeah. So Katora, thank you for reminding me. So you're ready for this challenge. So of course, everybody, we are doing a Thanksgiving to Christmas challenge. And I actually started a whole separate Facebook group for this, just for the challenge. The challenge is open to anyone and everyone. So I know, Black Carnivore, that Facebook group is specifically for Black carnivores, but this challenge is open to anybody. And the whole point of it is to stay on program through the whole holiday season. So it's not super draconian. I'm not doing beef salt water. It's not, one meal a day. There's no, specific fasting requirements. But whatever your plan is, whatever it is you want to do, that is a normal, healthy way of eating that may not necessarily lead to weight loss, but certainly will keep you on track. That's what we're going for here. So not super hard, just on track. And so I encourage you to sign up on the link. There's another video that came out this morning that has the link to sign up for the email list, and I'll be able to email everybody. I'm going to open the group, I'm going to open the group on Friday morning, although I did create it already. It's a Thanksgiving to Christmas carnivore challenge. So I will put that in the description later. But it is available. But I am not going to open it till Friday morning. So you try to behave normally on Thanksgiving, but if you go wild, you go wild. And then Friday morning, we're just all gonna get right back on track. So I'm so glad so many people are excited about that.
So that means that they can go to the group and request to join, but they will not actually be able to interact in the group until Friday, right?
So I don't know. I don't know Facebook all that well, so I don't know what happens. I think I made it visible, so I guess if you look for it, you should be able to find it. But I am not going to make it active and do stuff in it until Friday. So I was planning on sending out a mass email to everyone who signed up for it, inviting them to come and join. But I see Erica is already in, so awesome. I'm just learning these platforms, man. I stepped out of Facebook for a while because after 2016 it was just kind of like, ugh, I need a break from Facebook. So I'm sure you all know what that is. So Portia, definitely sign up. And the other thing that was interesting to me from the interview was, I did want to I did want to ask Craig about his experience with adopting African children. So I really appreciated him being so open and, discussing the challenges that they face. So that was really helpful. It's got to be hard.
Yeah, I loved his answer. I like that it is opening his eyes, and even he's surprised that at this young age they are experiencing racism already.
Yeah. So, it will be. Yeah.
It doesn't respect who your parents are. It doesn't respect what neighborhood you live in, how much money y'all make.
Yeah.
Racism is everywhere.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I expect that we'll probably have an ongoing supportive relationship, and I hope that that continues.
Mm-hmm.
Erica, Maria, she got, Craig and both Craig and Maria told me some of what they went through. That was, it was shocking, the things that people would say, and, and the messages they got, some of them kind of scary. So it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of you step in it when you adopt some black kids.
Yeah. So all in all, I thought it was a great interview, and I was really, really intrigued. So definitely everyone, the Carnivore cookbook, I know it's called a cookbook, but the first half of it is like all the science. And Craig has definitely given a lot of presentations at various conferences about the science, and it's, as you were saying, that it's not just a cookbook. So, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with a cookbook, but there's much more to it than a cookbook. So I do encourage you all to, take a look at it and read it. And it's helpful to kind of understand the place of meat. And I think even for my first year of being in Carnivore, like I kind of felt like the benefits of Carnivore were not eating plant material. And so if I cheated and ate plant material, I felt like I was doing something unhealthy eating a lot of meat and fat. But now I understand that it's meat and fat that's full of the nutrition. And if anything, the plant material is drawing away from that nutrition, but there's no downside to eating the meat and the fat. The downside is only eating the plant material, because it pulls away from the benefits of the other stuff. So do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. So because I've seen people have this argument over and over. Someone says, oh no, Carnivore is not that great, it's just that you're cutting out all the bad stuff. And I think that is a part of the benefit of Carnivore, for exactly the reason you said. One, the plants are just bad for you. Plants don't want to be eaten. I don't know why it's so hard for people to get that through their heads, but plants are not made for us to eat. We're not built to eat plants. But then two, plants, and part of the ways that they defend themselves against being eaten is that they take away from your absorption of the nutrients that are in the food that is much more available for us to eat. And three, that food is much more available. That's the meat. The meat has the protein and the fat in it. They're bioavailable. It has vitamins in a more bioavailable form. Like, it's those three things together. It's not just, oh, I take away the things that are hurting me, or I take away the things that are anti-nutrients. It's also, I am eating this very, very nutrient-dense food.
Yeah.
And I think that's I don't think I got that early on.
Yeah,
especially because I
absolutely.
started with vegetarian myths. So I was just thinking that, yeah, plants are horrible.
Yeah.
Like that was my first real big glob of science that came
Wow.
into here eventually.
That is so interesting that that was your first book.
Yeah.
Huh.
So um, I forget how I ended up on that one. Probably from the zero carb subreddit. Somebody talked about how good it was. So I went there first.
Mm-hmm.
But that was what like solidified me in knowing that it's okay to be this way. It's okay to eat this
Mm-hmm.
way. And so it was mainly about how plants don't want to be eaten. So yeah, I didn't know at that time
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, there's also, I had hints of how good meat is for us, but I really didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think because like you, I mean, I came into it from Gary Taubes and ketosis. And so to me, being in ketosis was important. So if I knocked myself out of ketosis, then there was no benefit to eating meat. And that I understand is what was wrong. And I liked what Craig was saying that ketosis is important, but it's not the whole story. And that's kind of a thing that's gotten missed in this whole thing. And so, for people, so often, we get the question, well, if it's zero carbs, then, what's wrong with artificial sweeteners? If it doesn't knock me out of ketosis, what's the problem? And, now, like, we are starting to understand, like, what is the problem with that? And for some of us, there is a significant problem with that. And yeah, like I see that ketosis is important, and I want to be in ketosis. It matters to me, and I do operate much better like that. But that's not the only thing.
Yeah, and that was a good thing that I thought he brought up. That the I guess we'll say Topsian way of understanding disease.
Is that another
actually,
portmanteau? Or I love that, Topsian.
Yeah, it's at some point we will have a Foxian philosophy all about you.
Oh my God, I love that. Yes, a Foxian philosophy.
Right. So yeah, this Topsian theory that like insulin is just it, and I'm still like a third through Ben Beckman's book, Why We Get Sick. So I'm seeing that.
Okay,
insulin
so I mean,
resistance is
first of all, you've been talking about this book for quite some time. It's time to finish the book.
Hey.
You gotta just sit down for 6 hours and just go all in.
That's a long time to just do one thing. Yeah. It's not how this brain works.
Gotcha.
No, if you get an hour of just one thing, that's good.
Okay. All right.
But I do need to finish that book. Very much need to. But you know what part of the problem was? I got a new Kindle, and I have to like transfer the book, and I want to transfer my highlights, but I don't know if I can do that. There's this whole, it's annoying. But insulin is huge, but we can't demonize insulin. And that was one thing I said in the chat. And we can't, like, people will watch a lecture or read an article about a study and then hear that, oh, so every time you eat, your insulin goes up a little bit, and insulin's bad. So if I just don't eat, then I can just keep my insulin low all the time, and that's healthy, right? That's good for me. No.
Yeah.
You need insulin. You need insulin to go up sometimes, because insulin is the body. It's the signal that tells the body to build. Your body needs to build on a regular basis.
Yeah. That's right. Glenda says she's finished reading the Bickman book on Sunday.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Bloom says that we weren't taught to recognize meat as having anything. It was just a protein, but we were always told about all the vitamins and minerals that are in vegetables, and that's totally been my experience. I am just recently, in the past like year and change, coming to understand that meat has more in it than protein. I really thought that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. Protein and iron.
Yeah. Iron.
Yeah.
But it was never like, oh no, so meat has selenium, vitamin D is in meat, vitamin A is in meat. In fact, all the vitamins. The only one you're not going to find much of is vitamin C.
But it's still there too, just not in as big amount. Right. Yeah. And just also reminding ourselves how much we need. I mean, I think this was something I took from, what's her name? Nina Teicholz, who talks about the RDA and how, like, the RDA was kind of designed to, prevent starvation and malnutrition. And so, they padded a lot of the, the minimums too, to make sure that, people, just got as much as they needed. So the minimums are not really as low as they could be. And also calorie estimations are not as low as, our calorie needs are inflated, and the calorie counts of foods are also inflated. So it's sort of interesting to know, to get that. I mean, I wonder if we had like a calorimeter at home and you actually like burn something and measure the actual calories in it. It might be like totally different than what is listed at the USDA. So it makes me, yeah. So it makes me think, at a certain point, especially those people who get so hyper focused on getting, the macros exactly right. It's like, what is actually on your plate, bears almost no relationship to what is in MyFitnessPal. So to get that hyper focused, the only way that you can be perfectly right is if you're eating a protein shake where you've added all the ingredients and everything came from in a container and where, it was tightly controlled. And so, and there's no benefit to doing that. So, you kind of just got to let go of the macro stuff a little bit.
Yeah, at that point, there's plenty of detriment. Like, you're probably giving yourself diarrhea, you're eating unnaturally. Like, that's not how you want to be eating. It's not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Likely in the short term and definitely not in the long term.
So, So I think that we learned a lot. I think it was good to have this discussion about fat and understanding how fat operates in the body. And I think Ben Bikman's book is a really good one for understanding that fat is an organ in the body, and it is a very active organ. It's not something that just sort of sits there and waits until it is needed and called upon. So Ben Bikman talks about all the different types of fat, the different things that they do, and then the fat. When you talk about the fat cells that are overly filled, stretched to capacity, starting to die, they let out something that because they're inflamed, they let out something that I guess sends more signals to the body that increases the inflammation throughout the body. I can't remember exactly what he was saying about that, but
I want to say it's called like a cytotoxin or something.
Yes, cytokine or something.
Yeah, something like that, and it ends up hurting your pancreas, I want to say.
Yeah.
I watched him give a talk on this, and I just don't remember all the details.
Yeah. So having fat that is damaged or deranged in some way is really damaging to the whole body, So we don't want to think about fat as like this annoying thing that makes us not look good. Like it's a much bigger thing than that, and it is and it is like what we use constantly. And I actually thought that part where we were talking about how much energy is in your blood at any given moment, like when you're just sitting still and not really doing anything. Yeah. And so my question about, well, what if you suddenly have to do something, like, how does that system work? I mean, that was really helpful to hear that, and knowing, what's fat, and then what's your glycogen stores. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting. I think he said it was about 30 calories.
Mm-hmm.
So not very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So when he said that too, I mean, I was reminded of in the beginning, like, it took a long time for me, even going keto, it took a long time for me to understand that, like, eating sugar that's not natural. Because, but we're told it's okay and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And
that's why I'm laughing. Yeah. Cause it's so, when you learn these things, when you learn that your blood can only hold a teaspoon of sugar at a time, you go, oh, so I should eat sugar?
Where does that, cup of ice cream that's got like 45 or 60 grams of carbs in it for that serving, where does that supposed to go if you only can do 1 teaspoon?
Right. Where does that cream with a side of coffee go?
Yeah, because even the cream, that's still quite a bit there.
Well, I'm thinking regular person cream. So not us with our unsweetened heavy cream, but like some International Delight or something.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. Where's all that sugar going?
Yeah.
It's not in your blood. It's not just being used immediately. That's not how that works.
Right. So, I think that, it was just eye-opening. And it takes a while to learn and to come to accept why carnivore is healthy and why meat eating is healthy. And that's why I so want to spend time on this channel redeeming meat. It's, it's a tough job because, people just don't see it and they don't think that that is true, but it is. And this is a uphill battle. And if we let, the other side win, like, it is so damaging for us. And you're going to hear next week when I release the other video, you're going to see how important it is, particularly for Black people.
Did you say who was the next interview?
I did not.
Okay, all right.
But it isn't someone famous that you ought to know. But you should know her because she's awesome.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we should wrap up.
I'm laughing at Couture's comment.
Yeah. Cream with a side of coffee and ice cream. Yeah.
Yep.
And I did like Heath Bar Crunch coffee ice cream. That was one of the ones I did like.
As I sip my plain water.
Yeah, ditto. Water. Yeah, Erica says being vegan is considered virtuous, where meat is decadent. I totally agree. And, and that's what's so frustrating about this, is that everyone thinks that veganism is virtuous and aims for a vegan lifestyle, but like 2% of the population is even able to get there. And I too did that, where it was like, I wanted, I aimed to be vegetarian or vegan, and I sort of structured my life that way, and then I would just fall off. But I never questioned why I continually fell off. And food as oppression, exactly, Bayet. That's exactly what is happening. But yeah, and I see so many other people that way too, who are like, well, I'm pescatarian, because they can't quite go all the way to no meat. And, and it's just like, you're sending a message that something is good that you and nobody can stick to. Nobody.
Yeah. We can there's a whole thing about that, and especially vegan being considered virtuous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like suffering is lionized and held up as something you should aspire to.
Mm-hmm. I have never heard it put that way, but I love that. Suffering is lionized.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Red table talk at a vegan chef. Not surprised.
Yeah. And
James
Erica absolutely.
He was really I forget when this was, but he had set up a vegan food truck in LA and was giving away vegan food, and everyone was talking about how great that was. And me at the time, like, I was carnivore by then, and I was going, but he's not giving real food to people. Just because it's free doesn't mean it's no. I mean, I'm not gonna poo-poo your great thing, but because it is generous, he's trying, but misguided.
Yeah. There was a vegan ice cream truck over the summer that was out in my neighborhood and handing out ice cream. And I was like, oh, no, thank you. And everyone was like, why don't you want free vegan ice cream? Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, why would I want that? It's disgusting.
Yeah, so it's going to be like sugar and some sort of plant-based thickener, I guess. And something to make it taste creamy too? Yuck. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill myself. It's gonna be on real ice cream.
Yeah. Katora says she's on the M&M diet. I love that. Meat only and movement daily. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That
I'm on an M&M diet. Meat and movement. Oh, God. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a t-shirt. I gotta write that down.
And Erica says we should be supporting Black ranchers. Yes, we should. I feel like ranchers, period, as much as you can affordably buy direct from them is great, and especially Black ones. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think Janae in our group has found some to be part of her farmers market. So everybody reach out to Janae and see if she doesn't have some people. They might be, I'm sure they're in North Carolina, but they might be set up to actually ship.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, everybody, I see we still have a bunch of people in here. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you get notification every time we go live. And I want to wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a good time. You enjoy yourselves. I know it's going to be a weird one. I don't know.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Arien? Are you going home or?
I mean, yeah, for me, luckily, like, my parents are 5 minutes away. Like, it's nothing to just go have time with them. But that's all it's going to be, the three of us. So it'll probably be like a couple hours of time together eating, and then I'll be back home. It's not like the big family gathering that it usually is.
Right.
So it's still going to be, I guess, bittersweet in that way.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody stays safe. Whatever has to happen in order for that to, be.
Thanksgiving.
Was that a specific typo or purposeful typo or?
You know what? With the G in there too, it looks like she did it on purpose to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Thanksgiving. Yeah, I'm gonna sink my teeth into some meat definitely on that day.
That might be a t-shirt too. Let me write that down. You guys are coming up with great ideas.
Yep, on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah. Or also, what do we call it when we're not celebrating the Pilgrims at all? Indigenous Peoples Day? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. That doesn't work with the fangs, though.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
No. Okay, well, whatever you are doing, everyone, have a great time. Be safe, and we will see you next next Tuesday I'm gonna premiere this interview, but we're not gonna do a live stream afterwards, right, Arien? We're gonna do the live stream on Thursday. So we are now switching to Thursday only live streams, and Tuesdays we're gonna have various videos that we premiere. So I have a couple of videos ready, and so for the next couple of weeks, so that'll be really exciting. And we also have, I'm actually going to be on, the author of the book Sacred Cow has invited me onto her podcast. So I'm really excited to do that. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So we got to finish that book before.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that book too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so get that Kindle warmed up. Figure out how to switch everything over. All right, everybody. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right. Bye.